Hey guys, welcome to the prototype Pantheon video. This is for normal and heroic first week. This is from the PTR, so it's not gospel. Things will change, but this is how we will do the fight first week. So hopefully this helps you all be on the same page. So to start the fight, you got the Necrolord guy and the Kyrian. You pull them to the skull marker. And while you do that, the whole fight, you need to make sure someone or people are assigned to interrupting the Necrolord guy. He does this thing called Gloom Bolt. If it hits the target, they get a healing absorb, so make sure it's getting interrupted every single cast, okay? And then the duty, the Kyrian one, she has this attack called Humbling Strike. She just did it. Whenever she does Humbling Strikes, tanks need to swap, okay? Now, the reason why we pull the bosses to Skull Marker is the Necrolord guy summons the Ritualist. There's 4 Ritualists that you have to kill. So you instantly kill the one on Skull. Then the tanks pull the boss to number 2, melee follows suit, and the range split and kill number 3 and number 4, okay? You need to kill one ASAP. The longer, the quicker you kill one, the slower the circle that's in the middle takes to spawn. Okay, so the longer they're up, the faster the circle will spawn. The less that are up, the slower the circle will spawn, right? Because they're channeling the shit into it. So just kill them quickly. No biggie. Make sure you're interrupting the boss the whole time. Okay, don't forget about interrupting the boss. But just kill the ads and then go back to blasting the boss. This quadrant's fine. You don't have to worry about moving him. If this was heroic, you would definitely get a second ad phase at this point. So you could just do the reverse. You could keep them on the number 2, and as the ad would spawn, you could kill it and move it back to number 1. Okay, so start on this number 1 side, bring it to number 2, and then when the second set of ritualists spawn, start on number 2 side, bring it back to number 1. Okay, and the range do the same thing. They kill number 3 and number 4. Okay, now other mechanics that happen are the Necrolord guy puts this ability called Death's Touch on 2 raid members, and the Kyrian lady, she puts down this ward. It's like a shield barrier thing. People with the debuff need to go in the ward and spread from each other and get mass dispel. There's only going to be one shield, so you want to make sure both are getting dispelled at the same time, and both people that are inside the barrier need to make sure they're spread from each other so they don't kill each other. On normal, they almost killed each other. So on heroic, you probably will kill each other, and mythic, you will kill each other, probably the whole raid, right? So make sure the 2 people that get it. So in our case, we had the Shadow Priest and the Mage that got it. Both of them went in the barrier, but what they should have done is one should have been on one end, the other should have been on the other end, and then we mass the spell, and they're fine. In this, they almost kill each other. Just look at their HP, right? Like, this is normal, right? If they weren't topped off, one of them could have died easily, right? While this is happening, the Kyrian lady will jump away from the group, and she will go to the skull side, and she'll start flying in the air, and she'll start the winds, and she'll start throwing spears. The spears are just swirlies. You dodge, don't get hit by the swirlies. The wind's a knockback, so just, resist it. Interrupt the necro guy the whole time. Make sure we're interrupting, okay? And then the other thing is, when these 2 bosses are down together, on heroic and mythic, their HPs are individual. On normal, they're all connected. But on heroic and mythic, you want to make sure the duty, the Kyrian one, is always lower than the Necrolord, because you have more uptime on the Necro guy. The Kyrian one flies away, right? So make sure we're just killing the Kyrian more often than the Necro. She should be lower HP than the Necro. If you get hit by the spear, you will get pinned like these 4 or 5 gentlemen here. Luckily, DK Pally Hunter, you can just use something in your toolkit to remove the pinned, and you're fine. But don't get hit. There's like no point. So the other thing is, there's 3 phases in this fight, right? This is the first phase. This is the when they reach 50%, they will trigger the second phase. Then the Night Fae and Ventier guy will come out, and when we get them to 50%, all 4 of these guys come out, right? Now in heroic, whatever HP you phase them at, they will keep. So if you bring the Kyrian to 50 and the Necro guy is 100%, when you go into the last phase, Necro guy will still be 100%, right? So you want to make sure these guys are very evenly, like they're even, and we're focusing the duty more than the war, because the duty flies away. And then the other thing is, before you phase them, you want to make sure you either can beat the ritualist, so the ads, right? We won't get ads, or you're waiting for CDs and you just do the ads, okay? So it's up to you. This is the 1 minute 20 second mark where we basically phase. And in our case, something weird happened. 2 of the ads disappeared, 2 of the ads stayed, and then the puddle spawned, right? So like this is not good. You don't want to be transitioning with this chaos per se, right? So just quickly kill the ads, and then position yourselves for the next 2 bosses. Now, vampire guy is Denathrius, queen is the Knife. You gotta pull Denathrius to the queen side. The queen barely moves. Okay, so pull Denathrius to the queen and start kiting or tanking the bosses in this quadrant this time. Okay. Now, a couple abilities. Now the Knife has an interrupt. She does Anima Bolt or something. Just interrupt it. It's not all that important. It just does damage, but still interrupt it. There's no healing debuff or anything though. Okay. Sire does a frontal. Every time he does a frontal, make sure the tanks are swapping. It's called Racking Pain. It's just like Castle Nathia. So whenever you get Racking Pain tanks, you guys swap. Another mechanic in this phase is there's seeds, just like Artificer Zymox, right? But these are friendly seeds, so we heal them. Every time we heal a seed to full HP, it blooms, and when it blooms, it gives us a healing buff, okay? You want to make sure you don't heal all the seeds at once, and you're like spreading them out, staggering it, so you have the buff like uptime as long as possible. Okay, so there's gonna be these 2 seeds, normal, 3 on mythic or heroic, 4 on mythic, and you just heal them. Okay, if you let a seed die, it'll explode and do raid wide damage, and you don't get a healing buff. It's like super bad. Make sure you heal the seed. Make sure it doesn't die. But make sure you don't heal both of them at the same time, okay? You want to heal one and just keep the other one healthy, right? Just triage it, keep it healthy, and when you're ready to heal it, just spam it up, and boom, you bloom and get the buff, right? Another mechanic that happens is Sire does the Hand of Destruction. He will pull everybody to the raid, and then he will explode. So we have to run away from Sire. What he also does, however, is when he pulls you in, everybody in the raid gets a debuff. I think it's going to be happening soon. But when you get the debuff, it's like the prideful debuff. You'll explode and a wave will go out in each cardinal direction, like the raid plan here, right? So there's 2 ways of doing it. In the video, we just ran away from each other and spread out. But the way I want to do it is we put a lock gate down, and as soon as he pulls us to him, we take the lock gate and we just put our hands up in the air and don't move, okay? And then that way we're all on the same pixel, and when the waves come out, we're all immune from each other's waves, and we're fine, right? The way that we do it in the video, which you're about to see, can be a little chaotic, and you can lose people to this, right? So here's the Racking Pain, tank swapped, and now he's going to pull us. So pull is happening in 3, 2, 1. He's going to pull us now. Okay, and now we're running away from each other, right? The farther you are, the less damage you take from the explosion. But as soon as you explode, notice the debuff on this right. I'll go back just a couple seconds. It's a 5-second debuff, right? And as soon as it expires, the prideful stuff happens, right? So you just want to dodge this, and you can get stunned by this over and over again, so it sucks. So you want to really make sure people that can blink far away. If you're doing this strat, if you're a blinker, blink far away. If you're a lock, put your shit on the edge and get out to the edge. And if you're slow, just stay close, but also spread. But honestly, I want to try the lock gate strat where we all just gate and just stand still. And if the tank has an issue with moving the boss, or the boss is coming and the tank can't stand still, then the tank doesn't have to gate. The tank can just, the tank can go here while the rest of us gate over here. It's not a big deal, right? One more thing that happens is the Knife Queen, she summons like these portals, and these ads come out of the portal. If you hit that Knife ad, you will get knocked around. So just watch these lines, okay? If we're gonna do the gate strat, we're gonna put a gate in an area where it's safe, right? We don't want to put a gate on top of the Knife ads, right? They can spawn from anywhere, so if you're putting the gate down, like this gate was bad, right? It was right on the Knife ad, so just make sure when you put the gate down, it's somewhere that it's safe, okay? Now, this is phase 3, right? We pushed both to 50%. Phase 3 starts, okay? There's all 4 bosses now. All the abilities are happening, okay? 1 tank is on Sire. 1 tank is on the Queen. The Kyrian, 1 tank is on the Sire. When the Kyrian does Humbling Strikes, you swap. When Sire does Racking Pain, you swap, okay? The Knife A and the Necrolord are getting interrupted the whole time, okay? Now, Racking Pain, the tank ability, right? When the Ritualists spawn, you can position Sire so that when he Racking Pains, he hits both Ritualists. Just like Castle Nathria, where you used to debuff the ads, the Ritualists or whatever. Same thing. You use Sire Denathrius to debuff the 2 ads, and then everyone else can focus on the other 2 ads that aren't debuffed and just kill them quickly while the melee cleave all 4 and, you know, take care of these close ads, right? So range are going to focus the far ones, melee are going to focus the close ones, and the tanks are going to be moving the bosses from one ritual to the other just like before, and then keeping them in this quadrant, okay? Now, the raid basically in this phase, when the ads spawn, the green circle spawns, right? So you want to keep your positioning like this. You don't want to be right in the middle so you get damaged. You want to be a little bit closer to the skull marker, right? And as soon as the shit spawns, we collectively can blast these for a couple seconds, but then the range need to peel out and go to their sides and kill their ritualists, while the tanks move the bosses from one side to the other and they kill their 2 ritualists, right? Very important. And then there's also going to be seeds. So same thing, healers, make sure you guys are healing the seeds in a staggered formation. Triage the one that you don't want to pop and then pop the others. The healing buff is going to be massive for this phase, right? Again, another example of the Racking Pain for the second sets of ritual in this phase. When they would spawn, you'd position the boss so the Racking Pain goes through 2 of them, right? And they're both debuffed, while the range can just quickly kill the other 2 ritualists, okay? Sire's gonna do the Hand of Destruction thing. We're gonna get these arrow things, right? So if the lock gate is available at this point of the fight, we lock gate again. There's gonna be a lot of stuff happening in the room, so it's pretty chaotic. I'll just play the video so you guys can see. But it does get pretty chaotic, right? There's stuff to interrupt. The healers have to heal the seeds. Then the Kyrian's gonna fly back over here and do the winds and the knockback. So a lot of stuff starts to overlap here, okay? So we're gonna get the ritualists. The seeds are spawning. And then she summons the portal where the ads are gonna start coming from, the knife ads. Make sure you're interrupting, right? No one's interrupting the knife here. And these are the ads coming, and they're just beelining for these guys, and they're just getting knocked, right? So as soon as, like, someone needs to keep an eye on the room for the portal. If you see a portal and it's gonna, like, line up with the raid, tell the raid to move, right? Unnecessary damage. Just keep interrupting them, and just, this is like a hard blast, right? The winds happen, the spears are gonna happen, the ward might happen too. I don't know if the ward and the debuff happens. It might be a heroic and mythic only thing, not a normal, but I imagine they'd have the debuff and everything from phase 1, right? These are the tornadoes that we never saw in P2. Okay, they're very slow moving. Once you dodge them, you're pretty much safe, right? A lot of things just happen really quickly there, so I'll just quickly go back. So you got the seeds. When the seed heals, right? Boom. You get a buff. 30-second buff, okay? So you want to make sure this one doesn't pop too early. You have 30 seconds to heal it back up. You also don't want to let it die, right? So there's a lot going on in this fight, right? Like the seed spawn, the necro ads spawn. You want to position the boss so his Racking Pain is hitting the ritualist. You want someone looking around the room to see if there's portals, and they can say we're safe or not safe, if you have to move or not move. Sire's going to do Hand of Destruction and pull everybody to them. We'll probably have to lock gate, and when we lock gate, we just stand still for the prideful part of it. Do the prideful, and then we're back on the bosses. And then the Kyrian one should fly away. She should put a shield down. 2 people should have the debuff. They just go in the shield and get mass dispelled. They spread from each other though. But this is basically the fight. It's a really cool fight. There's a 4-target fight. The only thing to add here is, like, right at the end, here is because in heroic and mythic you want to kill the bosses at the same time. as one boss would be getting low, you'd need someone to pull that boss away from the stack. So it could be an arms warrior, die by sword. You could have a bear druid go into bear form and taunt and kite it around for a bit. If it's one of the ads that cast, it's kind of easy because they'll just stop the cast and you can get distance. But if it's one of the other ones, especially if they have like the tank buster, you're gonna want to make sure people are swapping and taking control of that boss. But there's gonna be a little bit of finagling here. Just watch your DPS, be communicating here. Look at their HP. If one is lower than the other, then you just stop and pull away. But it is what it is. We'll see more when we get it. But this is just the movement and the mechanics. This is how we're gonna move and deal with it. And these are the overall mechanics. The main thing is the lockgate strat. If it works, great. You'll save a lot of damage. But if it doesn't, whatever. How you would actually do it is, I guess you'd have two groups, right? One group you would send this way, and then the other group you would send like this way, right? And in each group, you'd have people that could blink. They would blink far away, right? And then your melee would just like be in the middle, spreading, and then tanks would just kind of just linger in the original spot to keep the bosses in position, and just do it the mechanic like that, and then back on the boss, right? Other than that, interrupting is super important, and making sure you handle the debuff that the Shadow Priest and the Mage had is also very important. Okay, again, this debuff, one person will be on one end, the other person will be on the other end, and then that way they don't damage each other when you dispel them. But the way they were right there, they damaged each other, and on Heroic and Mythic, you'll probably kill each other, right? So just watch that. Don't get hit by spikes. These ads, make sure you're pulling them from one ad to the other, right? So as this ad's about to die, the tanks should like at 20% or 30%, the tanks should just start moving the bosses to this number 2, right? And then as you guys finish them off, you come to 2 and start blasting number 2. Range, make sure you focus on number 3 and number 4. And that's phase 1. Phase 2, same, like it's pretty straightforward. Hand of destruction, interrupt, dodge the line of ads. Don't get hit by the prideful or fucked by it, and for the racking pain, swap off. And then for the last phase, tanks just have to be have their eyes open. There's gonna be a lot of swapping here. You only need to swap Denathrius and the Kyrian, okay? So whoever one picks up this, one picks up that. Those are your constants. The only ones you're switching are Denathrius and the Kyrian. So when he racking pains, you swap. When she humbling strikes, you swap. The other thing, whoever's tanking Denathrius needs to make sure they position Denathrius so that when he does racking pain, it hits the Ritualist. Okay, and then the Ritualist will take a damage increase debuff, and we can do more damage to them and kill them faster. And I'm sure there's gonna be like the green circle getting bigger and bigger during like the last phase of the fight. So it's gonna be super important that we kill the Ritualist quickly, so the middle of the room's open and we have more room to maneuver and dodge. Also, when they all spawn, right, you just want to try your best to get them to the skull marker, but Knife A one really moves weird. So if a monk can taunt the Knife A, I think she might run faster to the skull. That's the only thing I can think of that will make this work better. But other than that, you probably just gonna have to go left of skull. So you're gonna have to be in this quadrant to start. And then the ad spawns here, so you want to make sure Sire is positioned so he's ritualing both ads. But that's all I got, guys. I don't want to make this one too long. Some of the last videos are a little bit longer, but still watch them. They're very informative and detailed, and at least you'll know what's on my mind. So if you've made it this far, thank you. And 1 week from now or 2 weeks from now, we start the new tier. So big excite. See you guys. Bye bye.